Thank you. Welcome again. This is P2F, that is Pain to Fruitfulness, Mental Health Talk Show, episode 2. And today we're going to have a very deep, when I say deep, it's deep discussion on issues to do with childhood trauma and how childhood trauma affects or even impacts our future relationships. We have an amazing guest. She's going to tell us a little bit about herself. And we have an amazing panelist who is a marriage and family life coach, dealt with many issues to do with family, in school environment, in the church, and in the community. Waithira is one person who has actually said it's good to talk about what happens in families and how this is linked to our childhood experiences. Welcome.
Thank
Can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
I'm Waithira, Wawero.
I came here to share my story so that anyone facing similar challenges can recognize the presence of a miraculous God. Through my own struggles, I've witnessed God's intervention in my life. I am a mother to 3 boys.
And I have grandchildren. The first one is...
My first child was born in 1989, the second in 1993, and the third in 2000.
Yeah, it's so amazing to have our panelist who is featured in episode 1, and it's not a crime to learn more about him. Welcome, Dr. Njue.
Asante.
Tell the audience who you are.
Thank you, Dr. Susan. My name is Dr. Nixon Njue. I am a career teacher, and therefore I have interacted more with the students and their parents. So some of the issues that we go through in life at homes, I have an idea about so many different episodes, especially on trauma and traumatic experiences. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We're going to have a lot of him in as we roll on. Now, Waithira.
Yes.
Wawero.
Yeah.
Is Wawero your father, your husband, your brother? You know, in Africa, people can add the names.
Wawero is my husband. Yeah.
So now, for today, before we get into what you have gone through and how the Lord has been faithful in your journey, we would like to understand a little bit about Waithira, her family background, where she was brought up, her siblings, her parents, just a little bit of your background.
I was born and raised by a single mother. Throughout my upbringing, I was solely cared for by my mother. I never witnessed any man asserting that he was our father. I was raised solely by my mother. 7 of us were born initially, but now only 3 of us are still around. Allow me to share that I was born and raised in a home. I was brought up in a home located in Majengo. I lived my life there, attended school, to be more specific, Thika Muslim Primary School. Later, I enrolled in Equator High School, but had to leave at Form 2 due to financial constraints. My younger sibling was excelling academically at the time. Seeing how well he was doing academically at Kanunga High School, I had a discussion with my mother, and together we made the decision for me to drop out of school so that he could complete his education up to Form 4.
You were 7. You were 7 of you siblings, but now you are 3.
Yeah.
So the ones who died are the boys or girls, you know, brothers, sisters.
One girl. One girl. 3 boys.
An elder sister.
I'm an elder.
The one who passed on, is it an elder sister?
No, brother.
Brother. And then you have a younger sister who died.
Yeah.
Younger than you.
No. Yeah.
Younger than you. What did they die of?
The eldest sibling passed away as an adult. He was expected to graduate, but unfortunately, he fell ill during the period of his graduation. He suddenly experienced a headache and passed away. The second eldest passed away in the year 2000, while the others passed away at a very young age. They also became ill due to pneumonia.
Is mom still alive?
Yes.
So, did you tell us you are married?
I was married to Awero Kuria.
And we both had children together. I have 3 sons.
Yeah.
The ages you mentioned?
Yes.
So no daughter?
No daughter.
Just boys?
Yes.
I hear you say that you were once married.
Yes.
And now you're not married to Awero. Do you mind telling us what happened?
In my marriage, we were together for 30 years, and I have never seen anything wrong with the man who married me. I have never seen any wrongdoing, and we never fought, or nor did he come to me with insulting comments. You know how people can get angry at each other for 2 days, and then on the 3rd day, everything is fine, as in we were living that kind of life. At one point, despite staying in the marriage for 30 years without leaving, as I never ran away or chose to live independently, something intervened between us. There came a woman from the same church we attended, approached me and invited me to become her prayer partner. Because of my innocence, I welcomed her into my life with open arms. We began spending time together, praying, and her life improved as a result. Unaware that she would disrupt my marriage. When she entered my life, she frequently called me to inquire about my whereabouts. I often mentioned that I was at work, and she eventually asked, "Would you mind if I came to see where you work?" And like any good friend, I advised her to come and provided directions on how to get there. We set up a macadamia shop at Craver's, where we packaged and shipped macadamia nuts to China. So this woman arrived expressing her curiosity about our location. I welcomed her as a friend and gave her a tour, detailing our macadamia nut processing. I showed her the dryers, explaining their function. We had about 7 of them, each generating around 300,000 shillings. She did the math and realized our earnings were over $1 million. She wandered around, exploring, and concluded that it was a good business. At lunchtime, we went to Buffalo, a place known to some. I bought meat, and we had lunch before returning to work. I relayed to my husband the past. She stayed with me for a while, then expressed her desire to leave, which I allowed. This happened on a Saturday. The following Sunday, as we attended church as usual, our pastor, whom I'm not going to mention, noticed something amiss and called me aside. He cautioned me. Wamwaora, I've noticed something concerning about this woman. I understand you've become close, so I urge you to be cautious. I later informed my husband about this. I relayed to my husband the pastor's warning about being cautious around this woman, as the pastor had a dream that she will put something in his wine. My husband reassured me, saying it was okay. The following Sunday, as she had a habit of timing our departure from church, often walking out with us, our pastor noticed this pattern and suspected I hadn't fully grasped the caution. So, in front of everyone, He specifically addressed my husband, as the woman was absent that day, urging him to be cautious around her. After the service concluded, we hurriedly left to avoid her calling us on the phone to inquire about our whereabouts. I recall my husband remarking that the woman's persistent behavior indicated she might not be a good person. The following Sunday, the woman attended church again. After the service, my husband signaled to me, and we quickly left to avoid her questioning us about our changed behavior. As we were still on our way, the woman called me and questioned why we left so quickly. I replied that we decided to leave early. Surprisingly, she said, "But we haven't even seen each other." I told her we were going somewhere, and she seemed quite upset. The next Sunday, we repeated our strategy, but this time, on the third Sunday, we weren't successful. In fact, she left church early to wait for us outside in her car. When we met her, she accused us of avoiding her so we wouldn't have to buy her lunch. We assured her that lunch was not a problem and agreed to go eat. We ended up at Buffalo for lunch, but unexpectedly, someone from church found us there. While I was washing my hands, the lady approached me and said, "Wamwaura, be cautious with that woman, she causes trouble." I explained to her that we were already aware of the situation because the pastor had warned us, but the woman kept persistently following us. After a while, my father-in-law fell ill, so I called the woman and asked if she could lend us her car to bring him home. She agreed and asked when we needed it. I said Tuesday, and she said it was fine. When Tuesday arrived, she called me and asked if it was okay for her to bring the car to us. I agreed, and then she mentioned that she was thinking of joining us on the trip. Innocently, I said it was okay since she was a friend. She came, and we went to pick up my father-in-law. When we arrived, we were warmly welcomed, cooked for, and had a great time with our family. They prepared my father-in-law, and then we brought him home with us. As the gate opened for us to enter our home, the woman held onto her waist and exclaimed, "Good Lord, is this really a home?" Surprised by her reaction, I asked her what she meant. She explained, "I'm just shocked because you don't seem to own such a beautiful home." And at that moment, my husband appeared from the back door, where he had been checking on the poultry. He addressed the woman, Anne, and asked, "What are you saying?" Anne replied, "Why can't Kiari build me a home as beautiful as this?" My husband reassured her, saying Kiari's time has not yet come. My husband said to her, "Let me tell you, Anne, even if I could do something greater than what I'm doing now, I would do it because I love my wife. She was patient with me during our toughest times, even when we were locked out of our home because of rent. She would even send me underwear when mine were worn out. We even washed other people's clothes to make a living." So, while we were still with this woman, my husband told her, even if I could buy my wife a plane, I would do it. I do my very best to make her happy, so that we can forget all the pain we've been through, because we've endured a lot. The woman was really shocked to hear that. After that, we went inside the house. I prepared a meal, and while I was in the kitchen, which was an open kitchen allowing us to see the living room, I turned around and saw her taking pictures of the house. I asked her why she was taking photos, but she denied it, so I left it at that. We had lunch. She then got into her car, wished her luck, and left. When she left, she seemed upset with me for about a week. She came back with a lot of shopping, including a big rooster. It was a very big rooster. Considering that we already rear chickens at home, both layers and local breeds, she said to me, she brought the chicken so we could kill it and have it for dinner. But my son asked me not to kill it. He wanted us to keep it because it was a good type of chicken, and he thought it might have baby chickens eventually. When my husband overheard our conversation, he came over to ask what we were talking about. It was just my son suggesting that we should breed the chickens to have more of the same kind. But my husband insisted we should kill the chicken because she brought it for us to eat. So we cooked the chicken and had it for dinner. I offered some to the woman, but she refused, saying she doesn't eat chicken. I was surprised because I remembered she used to eat chicken when we went out together. After serving food to my father-in-law, husband and children, we all ate. I asked the woman if she wanted chicken soup, but she declined again. We ate the chicken, talked for a little while, then walked her out. Before bringing in the shopping the woman had brought, my husband instructed me not to do so until I had prayed for them. I assured him that I would pray for both the items and the chicken. However, amidst various distractions and my father-in-law sending me to the shop, when the woman returned, she found that the items had already been brought into the house.
Yes.
Okay. Let's go on from where you are. You are not able to look at the things she brought, pray for them. Hurriedly, you put them inside the house.
Yes.
After bringing everything inside the house, we cooked and ate. When it was time to say goodbye, I opened the gate and we bid each other farewell. Now, I was left at home with my father-in-law. The next day, my husband came home with a full bottle of red wine and wine glasses. Upon his arrival, he found my father-in-law and me. At that moment, I was lighting a fire because my father-in-law was feeling cold. My husband passed us and went upstairs, asking me to follow him. I agreed and followed him up. He told me that the wine he was carrying was for both of us to share. I asked him, "Did you backslide?" He told me not to ask questions and insisted that we drink together. I refused to drink, no matter what, and returned to where I was with my father-in-law. The next day, my husband sat down with his father. He had never inquired about his father's well-being or how he was coping. All the responsibility fell on me. My husband mentioned to his father that someone like me deserved to be punished. His father questioned why he would say such a thing. My husband responded by throwing the remote control towards me. Confused by his behavior, I wondered what I had done wrong. He then told his father that I deserved punishment because I seemed worthless to him. He claimed that all I did was sit with the remote control, implying that I didn't contribute anything of value. Despite this, I remained committed to taking care of our father, even though it was challenging to balance work. My husband suggested that I continue going to work while he stayed at home with his father. After that, he went silent and headed upstairs. The following day, issues continued to arise. He arrived home around 11 a.m. and found slippers at the doorstep, which he angrily threw away, questioning why they were there. I explained that the slippers were always kept there. He then asked if the chickens had been fed, to which I responded that it was unlikely they were hungry at that hour. Throughout this interaction, I sensed that something was wrong, so I proceeded to feed the chickens. Upon returning to the house, I served him food, but he angrily threw the plate to the ground. I asked him, "Curious father, what is happening, and where have I gone wrong?" He didn't respond. I urged him to tell me if I had done anything to upset him so that I could rectify it. The worst day was when one evening he arrived. I opened the gate for him, and he closed it behind me as I drove the car into the compound. Upon entering the house, he locked all the doors and pocketed the keys. It was then that I sensed danger, because he seemed determined to make me leave him. Yet despite his efforts, I continued to endure his behavior. By that time, my father-in-law had already recovered and left. But things took a turn for the worse after his departure. That night, around 11:20 p.m., he demanded a machete. When I asked why he needed it, he began shouting at me to give it to him. So I called my son and asked him, "Kuria, I'm looking for the machete that was used to slaughter a goat. Do you know where it is?" My son questioned why I needed it at night, and I explained that his father wanted it. Concerned, my son asked if his father intended to harm me with it. I prayed fervently for help, and when I turned back to the kitchen, I miraculously found the machete. Holding the machete, I stood next to my husband. My son, hearing the commotion, came downstairs and asked what was happening. He questioned his father's motives for wanting the machete at night, but my husband remained insistent. I gave the machete to my son, instructing him to hand it to his father to ensure that if anything happened, I wouldn't be blamed for giving it to him. The child took the machete and asked his father, "Dad, do you love me?" "Yes." Then he asked, "Do you love Mum?" "Yes." The child handed the machete to his father and said, "If you love me, I don't want to see my mum die. Let her see me instead." The child then lay on the table and said, "Dad, start with me." He closed his eyes, and I also closed mine, unable to see the horror.